the echo in the silence. The scent of freshly cut grass and distant barbecue smoke usually filled Sarah with a sense of contentment, the quintessential aroma of a suburban Saturday. But today, as she watered the wilting petunias on her porch, the familiar smells felt like a mockery. Inside the meticulously kept colonial house, a silence as thick as a shroud had settled between her and Mark, her husband of 15 years. It wasn't a new silence, but one that had grown, tendril by tendril, until it choked the life out of their marriage. Mark was in his study, the door firmly closed. It had become his sanctuary, or perhaps his fortress, where the demands of his architectural firm and the unspoken grievances of their life together could be neatly filed away. Their evenings, once filled with shared laughter over takeout and dreams whispered in the dark, were now a choreographed dance of avoidance. He'd work late, she'd read, and they'd climb into their king-sized bed, a vast, cold ocean separating them. It hadn't always been this way. Sarah remembered the whirlwind romance, the passionate declarations, the way Mark's eyes would light up when she entered a room. They had built this life together, the house, the two energetic children now in their early teens, the carefully curated circle of friends. From the outside, they were the picture of American success and happiness. But pictures could be deceiving. The erosion had been slow, insidious. Mark's ambition, once a trait she admired, became an all-consuming fire, leaving little warmth for her or the family. Conversations dwindled to logistics, school runs, bill payments, whose turn it was to take out the trash. Sarah tried. Oh, how she tried. She suggested date nights, which were often cancelled last minute due to urgent work. She initiated conversations about their growing distance, only to be met with Mark's weary sigh and the dismissive, "I'm just tired, Sarah. Can we not do this now?" The loneliness was a constant ache, a hollow echo in the beautifully decorated rooms of their home. She felt invisible, a household appliance functioning efficiently but rarely acknowledged. Her own aspirations, her own needs, seemed to have been shelved indefinitely. She was a wife, a mother, a homemaker, but somewhere along the way, she had lost Sarah. Then came Ethan. He was the parent of one of her son's soccer teammates, a recent divorce with kind eyes and an easy smile. They started with polite sideline chats, commiserating over overzealous coaches and the trials of raising teenagers. Ethan listened. Really listened. He asked about her day, her interests, the book she was reading. He saw the flicker of sadness in her eyes that Mark no longer seemed to notice, or perhaps chose to ignore. Their conversations extended beyond the soccer field, coffee after a game, then an occasional lunch. It was innocent, or so Sarah told herself. But she found herself anticipating these meetings with a thrill she hadn't felt in years. With Ethan, she felt seen, heard, and, most dangerously, alive. He reminded her of the vibrant, passionate woman she used to be. The affair began on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Mark had called to say he'd be working through the night on a crucial deadline. The kids were at a sleepover. The house felt cavernous, the silence deafening. Ethan had texted, asking if she was okay. She'd sounded down during their last call. One thing led to another, and they found themselves in a motel room, the rain drumming against the windowpane like a guilty heartbeat. There was no joy in the transgression, not really. A fleeting, desperate connection, perhaps. But mostly, there was a profound sense of shame, mixed with a confusing surge of feeling, any feeling, after years of numbness. Sarah knew it was wrong, a betrayal of the vows she had made. Yet, a small, defiant voice whispered, what about the vows he broke every day with his indifference, his emotional abandonment? When Mark found out, a misplaced text message, a careless slip, his reaction was a maelstrom of fury and disbelief. The man who had been a ghost in their marriage suddenly roared to life, his pain raw and visceral. How could you, he bellowed, his face contorted. After everything we've built? You've destroyed us. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah. He spoke of us now, of everything we've built, things he hadn't seemed to value until they were threatened. He saw her infidelity as the sole wrecking ball, the singular cause of their marital demise. He refused to see the cracks that had been spreading through their foundation for years, the slow decay he had contributed to with his neglect. Their friends and family were divided. Some, like her sister, offered a sympathetic ear, acknowledging Mark's emotional absence and Sarah's profound loneliness. "It doesn't excuse it, Sarah," her sister had said gently, "but God, I saw how alone you were. He checked out years ago." They saw the affair as a tragic symptom of a dying marriage, a desperate cry for help from a drowning woman. Others were less forgiving. Mark's family, and some of their mutual friends, condemned her unequivocally. "There's no excuse for cheating," one friend declared, her voice cold with judgment. "If you were unhappy, you leave. You don't do that." They spoke of commitment, of loyalty, of the sanctity of marriage. To them, Sarah was the villain, the adulteress who had shattered a perfectly good family. Sarah found herself adrift in a sea of conflicting emotions and opinions. She didn't try to excuse her actions. The guilt was a heavy cloak she wore constantly. She had betrayed Mark, hurt her children, and violated her own moral code. But as she navigated the wreckage, a painful question kept surfacing: was her affair the cause of their broken marriage, or was it the final, desperate consequence of a union that had died long before? Was it the match that lit the fire, or simply the smoke rising from embers that had been smoldering for years? There were no easy answers, no neat conclusions. The path ahead was uncertain. Counseling, separation, divorce, all loomed as daunting possibilities. Mark was devastated, but for the first time, he was also present, forced to confront the reality of their shared life. Sarah, stripped of her illusions and her secrets, felt a strange mix of terror and a fragile, nascent hope, not necessarily for her marriage, but for herself. A hope that, somehow, she could find her way back to the woman she had lost, the woman who deserved to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. The echo in the silence of their home had finally been answered, not with words of love, but with the shattering sound of a truth too long ignored. And in that painful cacophony, perhaps, just perhaps, there was a chance for something new to eventually be built, whether together or apart.